Long before anyone in the galaxy feared humans, they barely noticed them. Humanity lived on a small blue planet called Earth, far from the bright centers of galactic power. Humans were curious, loud, emotional, and always asking questions. They explored space with old ships and fragile technology, driven more by hope than strength. To the great alien empires, humans looked harmless. The Galactic Council watched every rising species. Powerful races earned protection. Useful races earned alliances. Dangerous races earned destruction. Humans earned none of these. They were not strong enough to fear, not advanced enough to respect, and not united enough to matter. At least, that was what the Council believed. During one quiet meeting, the Council reviewed humanity's future. The room was large and cold, filled with beings who lived for centuries. They spoke slowly, calmly, and without emotion. One member asked a simple question: do humans pose a threat? The answer was no. Another asked, do they offer value? Again, no. Destroying Earth would cost resources. Monitoring humans would waste time. Allowing them to grow carried risk. So the Council chose a third option, one no species had ever faced before. They would forget humanity. Not by accident, not by time, but by design. Earth was removed from all star charts. Human language files were deleted. Any record that mentioned humans was sealed or erased. Trade routes near the solar system were quietly redirected. Exploration ships were ordered to avoid the region. To the galaxy, humanity would simply disappear. No war, no warning, no last words. The Council believed forgetting was kinder than destruction. In their minds, humans would slowly fade, alone and unseen, until they were gone. The decision passed without debate, and just like that, humanity was erased from galactic history. Back on Earth, humans felt something change, but they could not explain it. Signals from deep space stopped arriving. Friendly alien probes never returned. Messages sent beyond the solar system vanished into silence. At first, humans assumed it was a technical failure. Then years passed, then decades. No one came. Some humans believed aliens never existed. Others believed Earth had been rejected. A few suspected the truth, that humanity had been deliberately cut off. But without proof, life went on. Humans did what they always did. They adapted. Without alien help, they fixed their own problems. When resources became scarce, they learned to recycle better. When space travel became risky, they built smarter systems. When nations argued, survival slowly pushed them toward cooperation. Progress was slow, painful, uneven, but it was real. Children grew up under silent stars, dreaming of answers. Scientists worked without outside knowledge, forced to solve problems from scratch. Engineers failed again and again, then tried once more. Humanity did not grow fast, they grew deep. While the galaxy forgot them, humans learned patience. They learned planning. They learned how to survive without anyone watching. And far beyond Earth, the Galactic Council never looked back. To them, humanity was finished. A weak species left behind by history. They believed time would erase humans better than any weapon ever could. They were wrong. They had not destroyed humanity. They had given it something far more dangerous: time. When the galaxy went quiet, humanity felt the silence like a heavy weight. At first, people waited. They checked antennas. They repaired satellites. They sent message after message into deep space. Nothing came back. Years passed and hope slowly changed into routine. Space was no longer a place of visitors. It became a wall. Without knowing it, humans were completely alone. Some feared this isolation would break them. Others believed it would end human progress forever. But humanity had faced silence before, after wars, after disasters, after loss, and every time, they had learned how to move forward. Slowly, quietly, humans stopped waiting for answers from the stars. They began creating their own. Without alien trade or shared knowledge, humans had to rethink everything. Old systems failed. Old ideas became useless. Problems that once had easy solutions now demanded hard work. Energy shortages forced new inventions. Climate damage pushed cooperation. Limited space resources demanded creativity. There was no outside help. No powerful allies. No one to blame. Only responsibility. Human scientists work with fewer tools but sharper focus. Engineers stopped building for speed and began building for survival. Governments argued less when survival demanded unity. It was not a perfect world. Mistakes were made. People suffered. Progress came in slow, painful steps. But it never stopped. Human ships became smaller, smarter, and more efficient. Instead of large fleets, humans focused on control and precision. Instead of loud signals, they learned silence. They discovered that quiet ships survived longer. That hidden systems lasted longer. That patience was stronger than power. Generations grew up under empty skies. Children learned about aliens from old books and broken recordings. Some believed the stories were myths. Others believed aliens had abandoned humanity. A few believed humans had been judged unworthy. But most stopped caring. Their future was no longer in the stars. It was in their hands. Human education changed. Children were taught problem-solving before memorization. Failure was not punished, it was studied. Cooperation became more valuable than competition. Human culture shifted. Heroes were no longer conquerors. They were builders, fixers, planners, people who prepared for tomorrow. In the deep labs of Earth and its colonies, a new idea slowly formed. If the galaxy did not want humanity, then humanity would not need the galaxy. Human technology grew in a different direction than everyone else's. While other species relied on shared systems and massive networks, humans built independent designs. Every system had backups. Every backup had another backup. Human ships could function alone for decades. Human cities could survive cut off from supply lines. Human networks worked even when broken apart. Isolation had taught them resilience. Silence had taught them awareness. Far beyond human space, the Galactic Council continued its long history. They fought small wars. They signed temporary peace deals. They rose and fell as they always had. No one spoke of humans. No one checked the sealed records. Why would they? To the Council, humanity was dust. But dust, under pressure, can become something else. One day, a human explorer stood alone on a quiet station watching the stars. There were no alien signals, no voices, no answers. Only darkness. And yet, humanity no longer feared it. They had learned how to live inside it. They had learned how to grow without applause. They had learned how to become strong without witnesses. Humanity was no longer waiting to be remembered. They were preparing for the day the galaxy would notice them again. And when that day came, humans would not ask for permission. They would simply arrive. The signal appeared without warning. It was detected by a small exploration ship on the edge of known space. The crew was tired, bored, and expecting nothing. Their mission was routine. Scan empty systems, log data, move on. Then the alarms started. At first, they thought it was a system error. Old equipment often failed in deep space. The captain ordered a reset. The signal remained. It was old, very old, older than most civilizations in the Council's records. But it was also clear, stable, and carefully structured. That alone made no sense. Ancient signals were usually broken, weak, and full of noise. This one was calm, clean, intentional. The crew froze as the translation system finished its work. The message was short, simple. Human, you forgot us? We did not forget you. For a long moment, no one spoke. Humans were a forgotten name, a sealed file, a mistake buried under centuries of history. The crew had heard rumors, nothing more. Humans were not supposed to exist. The discovery spread fast. Within days, the Galactic Council was called into emergency session. Old archives were opened. Sealed records were unlocked. Forgotten decisions resurfaced. The truth came back like a ghost. Humanity had not been destroyed. They had been erased from memory, by choice. The council members felt something unfamiliar, unease. If humans were still alive, then the plan had failed. If the plan had failed, then something else had gone wrong. Very wrong. The council ordered more scans. Long-range sensors were aimed toward the forgotten region of space once marked as empty. What they found made the room go silent. Human activity. Not chaotic, not weak, but organized. Human ships moved without broadcasting signals. Their engines produced minimal energy traces. Their routes were efficient, calculated, and deliberate. This was not a struggling species. This was a prepared one. Far from the council chambers, humanity had known this moment would come. For generations, humans had watched the stars quietly. They did not send random signals. They did not call for help. They listened. They waited. Human deep space sensors had grown sensitive enough to feel even distant movements. When alien probes finally turned toward human space again, humanity noticed immediately. There was no panic, no celebration, only calm. Human leaders gathered not in one place, but across a connected network. There was no shouting, no arguments, just facts. The galaxy is looking again, one voice said. Another replied, then it's time. The signal was sent, not as a threat, not as a request, as a statement. The council debated its response. Some members wanted to hide the truth again. Others suggested negotiation. A few demanded immediate military action. But fear slowed them. Human technology was unknown. Human strength was uncertain. And humanity had something the council lacked: experience with isolation. A scout fleet was sent toward human space. Not a war fleet, not a diplomatic group. Observers. As the fleet crossed the boundary, their sensors struggled. Human space was quiet. Too quiet. No loud traffic. No careless signals. Then the ships appeared. Human vessels were dark and smooth, shaped for function, not beauty. They surrounded the scout fleet without sudden movement. No weapons fired. No warnings given. A single human transmission came through. Cleom. Controlled. You are in human space. State your purpose. The alien commander hesitated before answering. For the first time in centuries, they felt exposed. They realized something terrifying. Humans had not rushed back into the galaxy. They had waited until the galaxy came to them. Back on Earth, no crowds celebrated. No flags were raised. Humanity did not need cheers. This was not revenge. This was recognition. They had survived being forgotten. They had grown without witnesses. They had mastered patience. Now the galaxy was finally paying attention, and humanity was ready to decide what came next. The Galactic Council expected many things. They expected anger. They expected shouting. They expected threats, demands, or revenge. What they did not expect was control. When the first official meeting with humanity began, the council chamber was filled with tension. Powerful species sat behind shields and guards, ready for anything. The human representatives appeared on the central screen. They did not wear armor. They did not carry weapons. They did not raise their voices. They spoke like people who had already won something important. The lead human speaker looked calm, almost tired. Not weak, experienced. "You removed us from history," the human said. "You believed we would disappear." The council did not deny it. The human continued. "Instead, we learned how to survive without attention." Humanity explained what centuries of silence had done to them. They had learned not to depend on large alliances. They had learned not to trust shared systems. They had learned that help does not always come. So they built everything to stand alone. Human cities could survive without trade. Human ships could operate without support. Human networks could break apart and still function. Every human system was designed with failure in mind, because humans had lived with failure. The council asked about human weapons. The human answered honestly. Humans had weapons, but they were not their greatest strength. Their real strength was decision-making. Human fleets did not rely on speed alone. They relied on timing. They did not overpower enemies. They surrounded problems until escape was impossible. They did not rush into war. They planned until war became unnecessary. The council began to understand. Humanity had not grown louder in isolation. They had grown smarter. The human speaker showed records. Clips of human history, moments of loss, moments of rebuilding, wars that taught restraint, disasters that taught cooperation, failures that taught patience. While other species expanded fast and burned bright, humans expanded slowly and carefully. They did not fear waiting. They trusted time. One council member finally asked the question everyone feared. "Why did you not attack us when you became strong?" The human paused. "Because strength without control destroys itself," the human said. "We learned that early." Silence filled the chamber. The council realized something deeply unsettling. Humanity could have returned earlier. Humanity could have demanded justice. Humanity could have taken revenge. They chose not to, not because they were weak, but because they were disciplined. Humanity then showed the truth that changed everything. Their fleets were already positioned across key regions of space, not openly, not aggressively, quietly. Human ships did not block trade routes. They did not occupy worlds. They simply existed where they mattered most. The galaxy had been observed, mapped, understood. Humanity knew the Council's strengths and its weaknesses. "We do not seek control of the galaxy," the human said. "We seek balance." The Council listened carefully now. "We were forgotten," the human continued. "That experience shaped us. We will not allow any species to be erased again by force or by silence." This was not a threat. It was a boundary. The council members looked at one another. For the first time in generations, they felt small. Not because humans were louder, not because humans were cruel, but because humans had grown beyond emotion-driven power. They had become steady, measured, unavoidable. Humanity had become something the galaxy had never planned for, a civilization that did not need approval, a power that did not demand fear, a species that understood both weakness and strength. They were no longer the forgotten experiment. They were the standard the galaxy would now be judged by. And the council understood the final truth too late. Forgetting humanity had not removed a problem. It had created a guardian. The galaxy waited for humanity's next move. After the meeting, no orders were given, no fleets advanced, no borders changed overnight. The silence returned, but this time it felt different. It felt watched. The Galactic Council understood one clear truth now. Humanity did not need to rush. They already had position. They already had influence. They already had control. What remained was choice. Humanity did not punish the Council. They did something far more unsettling. They restructured the rules. Human representatives sent a simple message across known space. It was not dramatic. It was not threatening. It was clear. No species will be erased again. Not by war, not by silence, not by forgetting. Worlds that had once been ignored were given protection. Minor species were offered human technology, not weapons, but systems to survive alone. Humanity shared knowledge carefully, not everything, only what helped stability. They did not create dependence. They created resilience. This confused the galaxy. Power was usually loud. Power demanded obedience. Power took. Humanity did none of that. Some council members resisted. They argued that humans were overstepping, that the galaxy had worked this way for centuries, that silence and erasure were necessary tools. Humanity listened, then they acted, quietly. Trade routes controlled by hostile factions began to fail, not destroyed, just redirected. Communication networks experienced delays, not attacks, just interruptions. Nothing violent. Nothing obvious. Enough to remind everyone that humans understood the system better than anyone else. Resistance faded, not because humans forced it, because opposing them was pointless. On Earth, life continued as normal. People worked, children went to school, cities grew. There were no victory parades, no statues of conquest. Humanity did not celebrate domination. They remembered something more important. They remembered what it felt like to be alone. A council historian, reviewing old records, finally spoke a sentence that spread quietly through the galaxy. Forgetting humanity was our greatest mistake. Not because humans were dangerous, but because humans learned from being forgotten. They learned empathy from isolation, discipline from struggle, strength from silence. Years passed. The galaxy stabilized. Conflicts ended faster, not because humans intervened directly, but because everyone knew they could. Species thought twice before erasing others. Silence was no longer harmless. It was no longer invisible. Humanity had changed its meaning. One final message was sent from humanity to the Galactic Council. It was short, almost gentle. You believed forgetting us would end us. Instead, it taught us who we are. The Council understood the lesson at last. You can destroy a world and create enemies. You can conquer a species and create rebels. But if you abandon a species and leave it alone long enough, you might create something far stronger than either. Humanity did not rule the galaxy. They stood behind it, watching, listening, waiting, not as conquerors, not as gods, but as proof of one simple truth. You can forget humanity. You can ignore humanity. You can erase their name from history. But if you give them time, they will return wiser, stronger, and impossible to erase again, Ness. And the galaxy would never forget that lesson. Ever.